Good day. Thanks for joining us on Leadership TV. This is Inside Nigeria, where we dissect the national dailies and all the stories coming out from the newspaper. My name is Cynthia Onwado. Thanks for joining us. Of course, this morning we'll begin with Leadership newspaper here. The major headline here says ACF rejects Peter Obi's reiterated one-term pledge, describes vow as strategy. Well, the Labour Party presidential candidate had replied and said, "My word is my bond." He insists. Moving on now, rainstorm wreaks havoc on Plateau community, flood submerges farmlands in Niger. Kogi. Still on leadership here, we have 712 billion naira Lagos airport renovation to be funded without loans, says Keyamo. And NAFDAC seizes substandard drugs, tomato paste worth 20.5 billion naira. Man rescued after 10 hours on the Abuja building rubble. That's on our page 7. Katsina Emirate appoints 5 new district heads. Nigeria will soon experience divine restoration, says the Anglican primate. Still on leadership here, the top headline here says FGXN deadline for NSCDC prison recruitment. Goodluck Jonathan visits IBB in Mina. And a bit of fact check. It says GCFR, GCON should be given to productive people, not politicians. And trending here, it says forest security crucial to nation security framework, says NFSC. Not hurt key security offices can't claim marginalization. Kaduna governor. And on sports here, we have Nigeria's The Tigress clinched 5th consecutive FIBA Women's Afro Basket title. Well, we're still on leadership newspaper. Let's check out page 3, which is our stand. Let's get to see what it's saying here. It says a ticking time bomb called climate change. Here, talking about all the earthquakes and the weather conditions all around the world and the fact that the world needs to take climate change seriously. On our back page, of course, we have a Monday column with Dakuku Peter Size. It talks about turning brain drain into bridges. With an estimated 80 million Nigerians living abroad, Nigeria has one of the largest diasporas in the world. And how does that have a positive outcome in Nigeria? You may want to pick up a copy of our leadership newspaper to know what Dakuku Peter Side writes about that. And finally, on a funny note, we have our Ghana must go. He says, like Abraham Lincoln Mandela, I vow to serve only one term as president. Peter Obi welfare tell Charles Soludo. Yeah, remember over the weekend, the Anambra State Governor Charles Soludo reiterated that any candidate that decides to take just one term as a presidential candidate is mentally deranged. Well, let's get to see how that plays out. Let's take a look at our national economy, looking at the business desk. It says, despite crackdowns, onshore gas flaring surges in Nigeria as the World Bank ranks country second globally in flaring surge. Also, the federal government targets $2.5 billion investment to curb wastage. All right, Nigeria's pension assets hit 24.63 trillion naira amid market shift. Still on the national economy, FD invests $538 million in agro-industrial hubs, eyes 785,000 jobs. Well, let's see that come to fruition. Nigeria's 2025 rebasing, a new economic mirror, fiscal policy imperative. That's on our page 12 on the national economy. Let's move on now to the Nigerian Tribune. Get to see what the headline here says. Well, guess what? Experts question FEC's approval of 712 billion for airport upgrade. Renovations, wasteful, misplaced priority, says the ABC. It's strategic investment in the nation's infrastructure of the aviation industry, says Keyamo. Says the Lagos terminal rebuilding to be funded with subsidy removal gain. All right, still on the Nigerian Tribune here says by elections, SDP kicks against rejection of candidates. Henceforth court says decision illegal and unconstitutional. All right, find a job to do ahead of 2027. APC tells El-Rufai your utterances distracting Tinubu, says the party. Well, we know Malam Nasir El-Rufai has been quite outspoken about his, unsatisfactory feelings with the APC and the Bola Tinubu administration. Moving on now, 2027, Tinubu's loyalist regroup revived structures. IPI demands immediate reopening of short radio station in Niger. And the LEA intercepts cocaine, tramadol consignments in vehicle side mirrors at Lagos Airport. And on health, common sweeteners may be accelerating poverty in kids. We want to check that out on page 5. And still Nigerian Tribune, Northern marginalization stops and sheet your allegations. MBF challenges the ACF and Northern elite. My vow to serve one term sacrosanct, insists Peter Obi again, as he says, purposeful leadership doesn't require eternity to deliver. All right, on sports news and on a happy note, of course, the Tigress doing Nigeria proud and winning 5th title in a row, defeats Mali 78 to 64. You can pick up a copy of Nigerian Tribune to get to read all the major headlines this morning. Let's move on now to this day newspaper. It says, despite applause, ADC says 712 billion naira Lagos airport project wasteful. Okay, maintains planned overhaul, has no National Assembly approval. Kiamo defends planned upgrade, gives details of facility refurbishment. Declares Terminal 1 will be totally demolished, rebuilt. And also, Tinubu and the First Lady rejoice with the Tigress for emerging 5th consecutive time Afro-Basket winner. President describes team performance as superb and waits their return with trophy to Abuja. Hails coach Rena Wakama and the technical team for exemplary leadership. Mrs. Tinubu celebrates their discipline and the team spirit as the team beats Mali to win, extends unbeaten records in Africa to 29 games dating back to 2015. All right, President felicitates Chairman of BUA Group, Abdul Samad Rabiu at 65. Nigeria produces 1.37 trillion SCF of gas in H1, fled 101 billion ASCF. All right, still on this day, I'll serve only one term for 4 years if voted president. Obi reaffirms. And finally, on this day newspaper, we see the 2027 Enugu Patriots endorsed Governor Mba says he's only viable political candidate in the state. Well, let's get to see. Moving on now to the Daily Sun. The major headline here says, again, El-Rufai attacks Tinubu. Claims president's re-election will affect country's social capital. And still on Daily Sun, Northern Nigeria not marginalized under his administration, Governor Sani replies. And also 712 billion naira airport renovation, wasteful, reckless, insensitive, says the ADC again, matters arising this morning in Nigeria. And also SGF, lawmakers drum support for Tinubu's second term as Benin politicians back Akume. We're still on Daily Sun. Banks deduction choke low-income Nigerians. Excessive charges eroding trust in financial system, says experts. Report infractions to us, says the CBN. Still on Daily Sun, here we have 2027. My one-term 4-year vow, sacrosanct, says Obi. An MPC petrol price rises above market average, hits 890 naira per litre. Suspected killer of ex-Idato local government boss arrested, says Governor Uzodinma. Vows to apprehend and prosecute other killers. Still on Daily Sun here, Mba's second term non-negotiable, says Enugu coalition. And we're moving away from Daily Sun and going to the Punch. Let's get to see what the Punch is saying. It says 2027 tensions. APC kingmakers scramble to quell state-level uprisings. And also factions, legal battles grip party strongholds as party upbeat over crisis in Lagos, Rivers, Benue, Bayelsa, and others. Still on the Punch, fuel imports surge to 71% as marketers ditch local refineries. 2027, Obi's one-term presidency gambit sparks political firestorms. And still on the Punch here, it says 220 oil blocks abandoned amid debt, crude crisis. And also striking doctors cripple Lautech hospital operations. All right, still on the Punch here, under fire, Keyamo defends 712 billion naira airport revamp. Let's move away from the Punch now and get to the blueprint to see what the major headline here says. Motorists queue 10 hours for CNG, want infrastructure expansion. Okay, free kits cheaply sold out by taxi operators, reason for increased users. And the federal government should ensure steady availability of gas. You're smiling home. Our daily take home has increased, says the drivers. All right, they're talking about the newly introduced CNG. Also here we see no cause for alarm over rise of Alao Dam. Governor Zulum of Borno assures. And on business, Nigeria's tops list of Africa's oil exporting countries, June, OPEC. And on sports, the Tigers beat Mali to clinch 5th consecutive Afro-Basket crown. Still on 2027, why Tinubu can't be unseated by any politician, says PDP chieftain Olujimi. All right, still on blueprint, Keyamo defends 712 billion naira MMI renovations as Pan MD Kuku unveils scope of work and seeks understanding. All right, moving away now from blueprint newspaper, let's take a look at the Guardian. What the Guardian saying? Slow digital integration, rivalry NSW's odds ahead of Quarter One takeoff. Okay, we're still looking at the Guardian newspaper here. It says the tensions deepen at NNPCL as reform power struggle split stakeholders. Falana urges federal government to fund welfare programs, not luxury projects. AME ADC slammed Tinubu 712 billion naira MMI renovations as misplaced priority. PDP leaders split on Jonathan Obi for 2027 presidential candidacy. Again, Nigeria rules Africa as the Tigress clinch 5th Afro-Basket crown. NUC worries over professional bodies outreach, 6th harmonized accreditation system. And here also, NMA raises alarm over unsafe doctors' quarters at Lagos Hospital 2 years after elevator incident. And finally, on The Guardian, it says Anglicans kick as England elects lesbian Van as Archbishop. That's on the page 5. Okay, moving on from The Guardian, let's check out the Vanguard. The major headline here says, silent killer, staring drug cost, ignorance, fueling hypertension deaths. Over 4 million Nigerians at risk as hypertension case surges. Patients forced into deadly drug holiday as treatment becomes unaffordable. Experts warn of national emergency as sudden death spike nationwide. We're addressing the problem, says the federal government. Still on the Vanguard newspaper here, it says Obi to Soludo, my one-term 4-year vow sacrosanct. Okay, moving on. We are not borrowing for 712.3 billion naira Lagos Airport, says Keyamo. All right, still on the Vanguard, it says no zone in the north marginalized by Tinubu, says the Kaduna governor. Unprecedented windfall as stock investors gain 25.7 trillion naira in 7 months. Domestic investors eclipse foreign counterparts as the experts call for caution as price correction looms. Still on the Vanguard here, it says Afenifere to Southwest governors leverage on UN recognition to equip Amotekun. Okay, killings. Benue leaders seek EU, UK, US interventions. And we get to see a picture of the victory lap as the Tigresses beat Mali 78-64. And we see them jubilating right here on the front page of the Vanguard newspaper. Okay, I think that's all we have today on the Inside Nigeria. Thank you so much for joining us. If you want to comment on any of the major headlines, you can do well to follow us on our social media platforms on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, or comment on our YouTube page. Thanks for watching. I am Cynthia Onwado.
Thank you for watching. For sponsorship and advert placements, please contact 08036886158. Last Word Leadership Podcast Studio. You have the last word. Thank you for watching. For sponsorship and advert placements, please contact 08036886158. Last Word Leadership Podcast Studio. You have the last word.